Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Women's Rugby Show podcast with me, Sam. By the way, we are back again with episode 7, where in this one we'll be having a look at the PWR round 2. We'll be talking to a couple of PWR clubs, including Bristol Bears, Saracens and Sale Sharks. We'll be having a little BUCS roundup and talking to Cardiff Met's EC Cantrell, and we'll be looking at the Championship North 1 and South 1, and we'll be talking to Sale 1861's Kirsty Reid on that. Before we get into this episode, though, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you can download it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever you get your podcast to listen to us on the go. And if you listen to us on those podcast players, make sure you head over to our Instagram, our X, or our Facebook to check out all our video content from match days and also all our graphical content from throughout the week. We done all that? Well, let's get into this episode. Before we get into talking to the Bears, Sharks, and Saracens this week, just have a kind of a little quick look at what happened over the weekend. Obviously, we were at Gloucester-Hartpury against Leicester Tigers at Kingsholm on Saturday, and it was a really entertaining game from Gloucester-Hartpury. They were so good in that first half, kind of showing everything that won them the league last season. They were clinical, attacking strong, and just spreading the ball wide. Claky George at 10, doing what she does best and kind of spreading the ball really well. Emma Singh's shone at fullback as well, but also Leicester were actually impressive in that second period to kind of keep themselves in the game. They won that second half 14-12, and I think that's really impressive for a new side to come to Kingsholm and put up that kind of second half performance. Obviously, Gloucester did make a few changes at half time, taking off their England players, but I think it's really important for Leicester going forward that they have that impact and have that kind of ability to score tries against these teams, because that will only build into wins. Moving on, and obviously Saracens were just about too strong for trail finders, but I do think that win's going to come for the trail finders. If you have any team who has Abby Dow in there, going to be good. And she's already shown that with the 2 tries at the weekend. I think Saracens obviously very good again. Sophie Bridger getting her 3rd try this season. She's a top try scorer so far in the league. And all their England players coming back. Zoe Harrison, Sophie Bridger, Marley Packer. It's just, they're always going to be too strong for a side like Ealing this earlier in the season. On Saturday also, it was rounded off by a massive, massive win for Sale Sharks women against Harlequins. That's a huge victory and a huge kind of scalp for them. A famous victory, you could put it, but I do think that was coming. I think Sale Sharks are massively building this season. I think we've seen it when we went into their training centre early in the summer. Just you could feel like something special is brewing, and I think this is just the start of it. And I'm really looking forward to see how they go further throughout the season. Looking forward to going there on Saturday to watch them against Exeter Chiefs. Speaking of Exeter Chiefs, they had a potentially really important win over Bristol Bears at Sandy Park on Sunday live on TNT, and they were really impressive. Exeter, I think, the way they kind of worked around Bristol's strengths, they utilised their own catch and drive, and they just neutralised Bristol's attacking threats really well. I do think Bristol are going to bounce back from that. They play Gloucester-Hartpury Friday night, which will also be at a triple header for us this weekend. But I think it was really impressive just to see how Exeter fronted up against Bristol. And I'm really looking forward to see how they take that throughout the season, kind of how that much boosts their confidence, because they do need to do well this season. Ever the bridesmaid, never the bride so far for Susie Appleby in the PWR. Obviously, 2 Allianz Cup wins, but they're going to want to go one better this season. So enough of just my voice. Let's get into chatting to Bristol Bears, Saracens win.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the reigning champions coming to us on a Friday night after a loss. It's all set up, isn't it? It's all set up to be a humdinger. Let's hope it is, and let's hope we got on the right side of it. As I said to the girls, we win it. It doesn't define our season. We lose it. It doesn't define our season. We just have to improve that performance, and that's very coachy language. And look, if you offer me 3-0 now with the most terrible game of rugby ever, I'd probably take it. However, I think realistically, we want it to be a cracking game of rugby. Yes, we'd obviously like Bears to win, but our performance has to improve, because then we go into the little matter of Loughborough, Ealing and Saracens and so forth. So, like I said, it's an important game so far, but it's only important on its own merit, not in terms of the season as a whole.
Dave, obviously you touched on Evie Gallagher there. I think there was 4 of the Scots kind of making their first Prem appearance for the Bears on the weekend. Just how impressed are you with their arrival, and how much importance is the depth that they're adding to the squad?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I think we know about the qualities of those guys. You probably, not everyone would have known about Meryl and Eliane because they've not watched all the Edinburgh University games, I suppose. But I've seen those guys week in, week out for Edinburgh University and Scotland play really, really well. Especially sort of Meryl's probably had a bit more Scottish time than Eliane. And then obviously Lana and Evie I kind of knew about already. And then when Worcester unfortunately didn't make the league, I was kind of like joking to Tom, my other coach, saying, imagine if we could get our Evie and Lana. And the fact we did it just complemented our squad brilliantly. You know, we've already got world-class hooker in Lark. We've now got two with Lark and Lana, with Jess and Holly in behind as well. So there's so much competition for places. Back row is one of the strongest, you know, in the league, I'd like to think. And again, those combinations of Alicia, Manon, Rowe, Gabriella, Evie, Claire Malloy still to come in. Like, there's so many different variations we could have. We're very lucky in that situation.
And sorry, just one more quick one. Obviously, we've kind of touched on it already about the Friday night lights. Just how exciting does that make you feel as a coach? Obviously, you would have played in so many Friday night games, but not many of the players will have played in one. Just how do you kind of coach them around that and give them any influence into the game?
Yeah, I was always, I love the Friday night game. It's just different under the lights. Whether it be, I played a lot of Monday night games as well, so A-League, so that wasn't quite as exciting. But yeah, the Friday night games, they're amazing. It's just easier to get up to. There's a different atmosphere. I've warned them about the traffic. That's my one thing as a coach. Okay, all of them. I don't want anyone to arrive late, so make sure they're on time. But yeah, when they get there, there'll be a different feel to it. And I just want a real buzz from the crowd, from the players. I want them to go enjoy it. And this is why we play rugby, isn't it? Like, it's these sort of games. The reigning champions coming to our ground after we've lost to Exeter, and everyone's like, "Oh, writing Bristol off, brilliant." Let's find out what happens on Friday.
Cheers, Dave. Thank you.
Obviously, going up against the reigning champions, it's always going to be a tough contest. But as I think, like, the whole of the Prem is getting a lot more competitive. So like we saw with Exeter last week, and Ealing and Leicester coming into the league, there's not going to be any easy games anymore. So I think obviously we want to improve on last weekend, and that'll be the case. Like, no matter what team is put in front of us, obviously it's a big game with Gloucester, and I know a lot of them really well, but I think you can only use that to your advantage going against people that you play against regularly.
Ollie, obviously it's such a short turnaround from Sunday to Friday. Just how does that kind of affect you as a player, or is it something you're kind of used to being in kind of Red Roses camps and also with your Sevens background as well?
Well, I hadn't thought of it like that, actually, from the Sevens point of view. I think it's difficult. Like, I won't lie, I was kind of surprised that we had a 5-day turnaround. And I think, like, obviously if you choose, you never would choose to have the 5-day turnaround, but it's just how it's sitting with the TNT coming in, and how it's worked out for us. But yeah, I think, like, there's not too much you can change. There's small things that you'll be able to do this week, but it's ultimately about basically being fresh at the weekend. So I think, yeah, it wasn't the best when we heard that we were going to have a 5-day turnaround, but there's not much that we can do about it. So we can just, freshen up and make sure that we'll hit the ground running on Friday.
And Friday night lights as well. Just, is that something you kind of had experience of playing in club rugby at all? Is it just kind of, obviously you will have had some under the light games for the Red Roses, but just, is this something you've used to in terms of Prem rugby?
No, thinking about it now, we don't usually play. I don't think I've ever played in a night game apart from with the Red Roses, but yeah, it's not something that I feel too worried about. I don't think it'll affect us much, but yeah, it's just something to look forward to. I think obviously the home crowd, and I haven't played at Shaftesbury Park yet, so that'll be good.
And you touched on the TNT deal. Just how exciting is that for you as a player, that you can kind of, the audience is watching you and kind of watching club rugby in England?
Yeah, no, it's massively important. Obviously, we all talk about how important the TV coverage is. Giving us that platform for exposure is massively important to help the game grow. So it's amazing that they've come on board. But I also think it is interesting that not a lot of the clubs are streaming games. So I think that's also an element that we need to keep up with, even though we have got that big TV deal. Making it accessible for other people is obviously still important too.
Yeah, you have to remind yourself every day that it is a privilege where you are, and the experiences that I've got, on and off the pitch, just being in those new places. Like, I was super lucky to go to New Zealand. I don't think I was expecting it. So super lucky to be able to be out there and just training with the best, and having, the coaching delivering that we had. And yeah, I learned so much over those kind of 7 weeks that I was with England, and then coming back into Sarries, it's a completely different environment that I'm used to, but a good one. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It's really been great getting to know the coaches and working with them, different perspectives as well, and kind of building from there. Yeah, Sarries Quins is always a big London derby. I think it will be good to be able to get involved with that, and really, you know, be on the Sarri side of it.
Moving on to our BUCS Women's National League roundup now, and there were just 2 games last weekend with Edinburgh beating Loughborough and Cardiff beating Durham, their first win of the season, which is massive for them after we spoke to Zoe there last weekend. This week, 2 games. Cardiff head up to Scotland to play Edinburgh. In Exeter travel over to Wales to play Cardiff Met at King Coed campus. That's a huge game. We're going to be focused on that one in a little bit. But just look at the table before we do that. Cardiff Met do still sit top, but they have played 7 games and on 25 points. Hartpury sitting second, having only played 5 on 21. Then you see Loughborough in third, Exeter in fourth, having only played 4 games on 17 points. So a win for them this week could take them up to second. Edinburgh in fifth, Cardiff in sixth, and Durham sitting in seventh after that defeat to Cardiff last weekend. Like I just mentioned, our focus this week is going to be on Cardiff Met, on their speaking to their first team skipper, EC Cantrell. She has been injured for a decent chunk of the season, missing the last few weeks. So we're going to chat about her injury, how's the recovery going, and kind of what she's doing to help while she's been on the sideline, and also her future and how much she enjoys being over here in the British BUCS system as an American, kind of what brought her over here and what's next for her in her rugby career as well. Let's get into this chat. So first of all, just thank you so much for chatting to us this afternoon. Can you kind of just briefly introduce yourself and kind of your role within Cardiff Met's side, please?
Yeah, my name's EC Cantrell and I play 13 for Cardiff Met, and I'm also the women's captain.
And obviously, it's been a strong start to the season for your side. Obviously, you've been out for the last couple of weeks with injury. Hopefully, that's all recovered for yourself. I don't know if it is, but just how happy are you with kind of the season so far, how it's gone?
Yeah, I think it's been a really great season for the girls, especially compared to the past 2 seasons that I've been with the team. The girls have worked really hard throughout preseason, and it's shown in all the games. I think we've been performing really well.
How is your injury? Are you kind of on the road to recovery, or how long ago did you come back?
So I've been in the boot for about 5 weeks, and I think I'm going to get out of it next week. So I think I'll be back for the Loughborough game after Christmas.
How difficult is it as a captain for you, like yourself, to kind of sit on the sideline and watch your team and not have the influence you can have on the pitch?
Yeah, it's really difficult. I came into preseason. I had just played with USA, a USA regional team, and I got a concussion. So I missed about like the first 3 weeks of preseason, and then I came back in time for the start. And then I played my 5 games, and then I hurt my ankle, and it was a pretty bad one. So it's really frustrating from my perspective, but it's just been an opportunity to grow in other aspects of my life, kind of like how to lead from the sideline and finding other things that I can do as a captain when I'm not on the pitch.
And obviously, it was a big win for the side last time out against Durham. Kind of that was a couple of weeks ago. What's kind of prep been since then, and kind of how have you led that from the sideline?
Yeah, I think it's all about showing up. And it's not just me, it's the rest of the team. The vice captain stepped up, Jess Rogers, and she's taken over the captain role, and I think she's done a fabulous job. I can see her being the captain next year potentially. But yeah, just always being with the girls. I've helped out with the 2s a little bit, and just showing them that I'm still there and showing up to S&C sessions and all that.
And how important is it to kind of carry on the momentum of that win? Obviously, after losing to Hartpury at Kingsholm, kind of the start of the month, end of October, just how important is carrying on the momentum of a victory heading into the rest of the season?
Yeah, it's really important. I think it's really important for the girls' mentality, especially I think after Hartpury, it was a pretty hard one to take mentally. And so the win from Durham really lifted the girls up, and training's been going fantastic. And I think the girls are really excited for Wednesday.
And obviously Exeter tomorrow, and you've already beaten them once this season. What do you expect from them coming into this game? Do you kind of expect them to bring kind of a bit of a revenge mentality into this one?
Yeah, they're a strong side, and they've always been like we love playing against Exeter. It's always a great game. I imagine they're going to bring the same intensity as the last game, but I think we'll be able to show out.
And obviously, it's been quite a disjointed season in terms of how the league looks. Obviously, yourselves have played 7 games, Exeter have only kind of played 4. Do you kind of see it's kind of tough to see where you are in terms of your league position? Obviously, you sit top, but with the terms of games played, it might not look like that. So is it kind of difficult to see where you are across the season?
A little bit, but I think we still have the confidence that we are one of the strongest team in the league. I think we'll stay top 3 for the rest of the season. Hartpury definitely had an advantage over us. They beat us twice already, so they'll probably make their way up to the top of the table. But it's honestly all up to this Exeter game on Wednesday, so it definitely is a big one.
And you kind of mentioned Hartpury and kind of sticking around that top 3 for yourself. So what kind of constitutes success for Cardiff Met this season? Is it kind of making sure you make those semi-finals and playoffs, sorry?
Yeah. I think if we didn't make those semifinals, we would be very disappointed in ourselves as a team, because with the players and the coaches that we have so much potential for this season and the future seasons. But from my first year, the progress that has been made, we just want to continue that throughout the next couple of years at Met. So, yeah.
And what about success for yourself personally? Obviously, I presume recovering from injury is that main goal, but what kind of looks like a successful season for you, both on the pitch at Cardiff, but kind of playing elsewhere as well?
At Cardiff, I just want to make an impact on the club. I want to leave the club better than I found it, and I think I've done a decent job so far. I just want to continue that, and I'll just work on making a comeback for the right time when the team needs me, hopefully around the knockouts and the end of the season.
And kind of being from the USA, I think, like yourself, how important do you see BUCS as a pathway for both your rugby career, but also the career of kind of the English, Welsh, and Scottish students playing BUCS Women's National League?
Yeah, I think the BUCS League is fantastic. I think it's given me knowledge and a competition that I could have never imagined coming from high school in America. It was a big jump for me, the skill level and just the knowledge that I got. So I think all the girls feel that way when they get here. It's a bit of a shock on how amazing some of these players are.
Mm-hmm. And just how much pride do you have kind of playing in such a strong league, and also captaining Cardiff Met, who kind of have such an illustrious history in university rugby, especially in the men's side, but also now coming through in the women's side as well?
Yeah, I mean, I am so grateful for every opportunity that I've got at Cardiff Met. When I came in, I came in with a mentality that I was just kind of gonna lay low and observe and, just get as much knowledge as I could. And it kind of changed when my coach picked me as captain. My mentality, I kind of strided for a bigger role. And I think I've done a pretty good job, and I've appreciated every opportunity that I've gotten.
And finally, just kind of what's next for you rugby-wise after Cardiff Met, or do you not have that kind of plan yet, or what is that kind of plan going forward?
There's a few ideas. I really want to play the PR Sevens League in America this summer, which is like the professional Sevens League in the States, and hoping to find a team maybe in Chicago, or I've been talking with my coach maybe about getting in touch with some Prem sides if I want to stay over here, but it's all up in the air right now.
Perfect. So thank you so much for chatting to us today, and kind of best of luck for your recovery and best of luck for Cardiff Met's rest of the season.
Perfect. Thank you.
Moving on to our championship roundup now, just to kind of look at the results from both the North one and South one over the week, and also a quick look at the tables. In the South, Bath beat Sutton and Epsom. Beckenham won away at London Irish, which saw the return of Charlie Willett for London Irish after a long injury. OA Saints had a walkover over Reading Abbey. Richmond beat Henley, and Thurrock beat Newbury. And in the North, there was a win for Novocastrians away at Buckingham, which saw the legendary Rocky Clark return to the pitch for Buckingham Swans. Cheltenham had a comprehensive win over Barnsley. We were at that game, some massive performances in that from Cheltenham. Worcester beat Bishop Auckland. That Worcester side are getting stronger now. You see a couple of the younger Worcester Warriors players dropping into the side and just impressing in that team. And also the huge win for Sale 1861 women over the previously unbeaten West Park Leeds. We're going to be extending our championship round by chatting to Sale 1861 captain Kirsty Reid in a little bit. But let's have a look at the tables before we do that. In the South, Thurrock sit in first place on 39 points, who are 8 from 8. Closely followed by Richmond on 35 points in third, OA Saints in third on 32, Henley in fourth on 24, Bath in fifth on 19, London Irish in sixth on 16. And in seventh and eighth, Beckenham sit on 15, and Sutton and Epsom sit on 12. But both of these teams have only played 7 games and need to face each other. Newbury and in ninth on 5 points, and unfortunately Reading Abbey sit bottom of the table, yet to record a point this season. Now moving into the North, the top 3 are so tight in this. all having won 6, lost 1, with Cheltenham's top on 31, who lost to West Park Leeds. West Park Leeds are in second on 28, but are ahead of Sale 1861, who are also on 28 on points. So, like I said, West Park Leeds lost to Sale at the weekend, and Sale's only loss was to Cheltenham. So it's so tight at the top of the table. The rest of the table see Kenilworth sat in 4th on 19, Barnsley sat in 5th on 15, Nova Castrians in 6th on 14, Worcester in 7th on 13, Buckingham Swans in 8th on 12, and fortunately Bishop Auckland sitting in last on 4 points, who are yet to record a win this season, but hopefully that is coming for them soon. But now it's time to get into our chat with Sale FC 1861 captain, Sale 1861 captain, Kirsty Reid, to kind of just discuss the huge win on Saturday and also their season so far. So, Kirsty, first of all, just thank you so much for chatting to me today. Just how's the recovery been since Saturday? How are you feeling after the game?
Yeah, we're on a bit of a high. I'm personally feeling all right, which is maybe just the adrenaline still not worn off. But when the final whistle went, I think we're all exhausted, but we're all really buzzing. So yeah, it was really good feeling.
And obviously, it was just a huge win against an unbeaten side in West Park. Just how proud are you of the girls having captain in the side as well?
Yeah, so proud. I would say at the end of the match, we said that November's been a bit of a weird month for us because we had Cheltenham at the beginning and then 2 weekends off, and then coming to Leeds, who were then unbeaten at the time. So it was a hard month for us and a lot of time off. But everyone really came together. I think beforehand we'd had a bit of worries about our back line, and a few people were unavailable who we'd usually have. So there was a lot of stress going in before it. And then when we came to it, I was extremely proud of them. Everyone played their absolute hearts out and left everything on the pitch. It was great.
And obviously, you mentioned about West Park being unbeaten, and then West Park had beaten Cheltenham, who you just lost to. What was kind of the plan and the mindset heading into this game?
Yeah, we knew they were going to be physical. I think the nice thing about this league is that there's a lot of sort of conversations between the teams. So if I'd spoken to a few of the girls from Cheltenham, and I was like, so what are Leeds like? Like, how did they beat you essentially? And they were like, they were just big and physical. That's what they told us. So I think coming into it, we knew that they were going to run at us, which maybe suits our style of play a bit more. So that's what we were looking for. We knew it was going to be physical. We knew it was going to be up front, and they definitely brought that when we played. But I think that's what we were expecting going into it.
And obviously, just how important was it for yourself and the side having kind of bouncing back straight away from that defeat against Cheltenham? Obviously, quite disappointing to lose that one, having been unbeaten yourself heading into it. So, just how important was bouncing back?
Yeah, it was really important. I think after Cheltenham, we were a bit humbled. Maybe I think we'd just been promoted into this league, so every game's been brand new to us. We didn't know what to expect for any of them. So Cheltenham was a bit of a kick in the teeth, a bit sort of like crashed down to earth quite savagely, and then it was just really important to get a bit of momentum going again. And then now really looking forward just to the second half of the season, essentially.
You mentioned it's kind of the first season at this level for the side. Just how are you finding it overall, kind of as yourself personally, but also obviously you were playing in the Premiership last season with Sharks, but how are the team finding it overall?
Yeah, it's been different. I think coming from the league below, it's quite a jump, because the league below there was times where we'd be winning 100-0, which it's fun for a bit, and then it's definitely been more competitive coming up. Like I said, we've not played any of these teams before, so it's been a sort of learning curve. Every team we play, it's been brand new, and every team, I don't think there's been one game we've played where it's been easy or we've known what's coming. It's been physical, it's been a proper fight every time. For me, it's been great. It's been a bit of a learning curve in terms of, obviously I played Prem last year, but it's my first time captaining, so it's been a learning curve in that sense. But yeah, I think everyone's really keen to play, and then I think with a couple of wins under our belt, like, we've got great momentum going, and it's a really great vibe that we've got in camp and training.
Yeah, you mentioned the captaincy. Then it's kind of your first time you're doing it. Just how are you finding it? Obviously, there's a lot of different players coming in, a lot of movement players, a couple of players playing for Sharks and then coming down and playing for yourself. Just how are you finding kind of the whole captaincy side?
Yeah, it's definitely been a learning curve. A lot of things that you just sort of didn't, well, I've never thought of before, that all of a sudden you're involved in. Decision making has been one of my biggest challenges personally. The girls are all really, really sound, and we've got quite a good relationship with Sharks next door. So in terms of movement, it's actually been all right, because there's quite a good level of everyone's relatively friendly with each other. So when people have come in, it's not brand new. They've sort of known of each other. So that's been quite smooth. I'd say one of the biggest challenges has actually been like the personal side of being captain. A lot of people kind of come to you with their problems, which I'd never really experienced before. And it's been quite nice, like, just to sort of support them and like see that side of people. But it's one that it was definitely surprising to me.
And obviously, you mentioned that 2 week gap. Obviously, that's kind of needed with weeks off anyway, but also with DMP dropping out of the league. Just how have you found that kind of stop-starting nature of how the league started this season?
Yeah, it's again from last season. We had a lot of games were then, it was like winter, so a lot of games were called off, and to the second half of it we had games that kept getting cancelled. So it was like we kept training. Every free weekend we had essentially got filled with a postponed game, so it was really hard. And I think this season's actually been quite good for us because we've had a bit of time off, and obviously it's not full time. Everyone does this, they're giving up their personal time, so actually having a bit more time off I think's made it easier to come in and train, because when we've got training we can be there, because actually you get every third weekend off. We've got, if we don't have a game, we tend to not train on the Tuesdays, or we do something that's lighter, like we've done Pilates, we've got yoga planned, so we do something that's like slightly less intense, which actually I think's made when we do need to up the intensity a lot better, because people aren't just exhausted and just playing rugby. So it's given that sort of a little bit of balance back to us, which has been really nice.
I was about to ask if you had kind of a week off at all with that week off completely training with that 2 week break, or was it just that those lighter sessions like you mentioned?
Yeah, we've not had a full week off. We've had sort of lighter sessions or the odd session off, but not a full week off, no.
And just obviously the championship is used by so many clubs as kind of, well, Prem clubs that is, to put down younger talent. You look at West Park, yourselves had a few Sale Sharks players in it. Cheltenham have kind of Spartan and Gloucester players, but so many players are now using it as a stepping stone as well. Is that what kind of you see the league as, or do you kind of take pride in playing in the league that produces so much talent?
Oh, I definitely take pride in playing in this league. I think it's a really great opportunity because it's what I did last season with Sharks, where if you're on the cusp, you could come and do it. So it's great to get those game time and get them playing. But I've got great pride in playing in this league. Obviously, Prem's an unreal standard, but Champ I think is really competitive. And when we've trained with the Sharks girls this season, they've said that the standard that we're playing at is really decent rugby. So I take absolute pride in this league, but I think it's great to have that stepping stone. I know some young girls that are coming up that aspire to be in Prem and playing at this levels where you start to get noticed. If you make an impact at this level, that's probably you invited to train with a Prem club, train with a Prem side, and that's where it snowballs from there, really.
Are there any of those players you should kind of be keeping an eye out on from 1861 this season?
Yeah, we've got a few young ones. Lydia Humphreys is one. She's unfortunately had a bit of an injury recently, but she's still 17. She's going to be an absolute rocket. Laura Swan scored 2 tries on debut at the weekend, so she's really good. And Sophie Hopkins, the 3 of them, I think, will be names you'll hear very soon, I reckon.
And just what would kind of constitute success for Sale this season? Obviously, it's first season in the league, and then you're going up against West Park and Cheltenham, kind of at the top of the table. I was saying before that you 3 are so tight now. You'll all play 7, 1, 6, lost 1. So just kind of what constitutes success this season?
Yeah, it's a strange one for us, because I think before the season had started, we were very much like, the goal is to stay up. The goal is to be middle of the table. Let's just get a season under our belts. And then we started to win games, and I think we were all kind of caught us by surprise a bit. We were like, oh, sort of waiting for it to end. I think that's where Cheltenham was quite good, but now I think we are aiming to be in the top 2, get to the playoffs. I think the win over Leeds has kind of reignited that in us. I think after Cheltenham we were a bit humbled, but we are now, top 2 we're looking for. We want to be as competitive as possible. We want to be an absolute nightmare in this league, that people, when they say, well, we're playing 1861 this weekend, they're like, oh crap, here we go. But yeah.
Is that kind of about making the Northwest kind of, obviously the huge thing last season with Sharks and the Northern Rugby Matters? Do you think about going down to Carrington, going to Sales, kind of making it a really tough place to go and making it somewhere that teams actually don't want to travel?
Yeah, I think that's our goal. We kind of say like men's team get referred to as the dogs, and we keep, that's our sort of joke this season, that we want more dog in us. We want to be the absolute arseholes that everyone comes and goes, oh no, we've got them, like they're rough, they're this, they're that. Not in a nice way, we're not arseholes, but like we want to be an absolute nightmare of a team to play against. And it's a proper Northwest team. Since we've gone up, we've got girls travelling from Leeds, Yorkshire, all around sort of, so it's properly the whole of the Northwest, I think, is coming from our team. So yeah.
And for you personally, kind of, where do you want the season to go? Obviously, you mentioned the top 2 for 1861, but from a personal level, where do you want your season to go?
It's an interesting one. I made a joke that I want to play every game. That was it. That was my goal. But I think as long as the team, like we've built a proper like family so far. So regardless of where we end the table, obviously top 2 is the goal, and that's my goal as well. To lead us to that. But I think as long as we keep the sort of family thing we've got going now, we're all really close, really tight, enjoy going on socials. Like our group chat's always got some nonsense popping off in it. Like as long as we end with that sort of family cohesive unit that makes us just sort of a formidable team, I'll be really happy.
Perfect. So Kirsty, thank you just so much for chatting to us today, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Rounding off this week's episode then with our brand new news segment and kind of looking about what's going on in the wider women's rugby world in terms of test matches, 7. We will be having the occasional full 7 segment, Super Rugby Alpiki, and also the Elite One Feminine. So just to kick off that, there were 2 test matches in the past week. Portugal took on Brazil in the second of a 2-match test series, with Portugal coming out 13-5 winners in that one, going to get a revenge for the first test. So that series ended up 1-1. And then Tunisia beat Uganda 53-13 for a 2-0 series win. So that was the kind of test match that happened the last weekend. That Portugal-Brazil test series was massive, with Brazil kind of winning their first ever game of 15th rugby in that first test match, and Portugal kind of bounced back in the second one as well. And heading over to sevens, like I said, we're going to kind of start having more regular sevens segments with the HSB 7 series starting this weekend over in Dubai. In Team GB or GB Rugby Sevens group for this tournament has France, Fiji, and the USA. So a tough group to start off in that 7 series. They're going to do well to get out of that one. Obviously, it's a bit of a different series looking for the women this year, as they've already qualified for Paris 2024. So a lot of this series this year will be about looking to build for that, kind of looking to build momentum into that Paris 2024 Olympics. But their squad for this weekend: Lisa Thompson, Abby Brown, Grace Crompton, Shona Campbell, Lauren Torley, Emma Uren, Isla Norman-Bell, the legendary Jazz Joyce, Amy Wilson-Hardy, Ellie Boatman, Rona Lloyd, Jade Shekels, and Heather Cowell. So quite a good squad full of talent from across the Great Britain, and well spread out, and quite a lot of 15s experience in there, a bit of international experience from WXV, with Jazz Joyce, Rona Lloyd in there, and Lisa Thompson, sorry, and couple of former Red Roses as well. So it's kind of a nice blend of experience with youth and exciting sevens talent as well. And the other piece of sevens news is that Madison and Tegan Levi have extended their contract with Rugby Australia to 2026, which is massive for Rugby Australia. I think those two are the potential to be superstars of the rugby in Australia for years to come. And there's such a big issue over there with potential people going on to NRLW or AFLW, like the Levi sisters came from. For those two to commit to Rugby Australia beyond Paris 2024 is massive for them. Now moving on to Super Rugby Alpiki, the squads got announced overnight, UK time. Just if you want to have more detail into this, check out Alice Soper over on Instagram. She did a massive kind of deep dive into these squads. But just kind of a few key player movements in there. In terms of Black Ferns wise, at least, Ariana Baylor moving from the Blues to Chief Manawa, Crystal Murray moving from Hurricanes Pua to Chiefs Manawa, and then also Grace Stein mentioned Rennie Holmes moving from Matatu to Chiefs Manawa. So kind of quite a few movements towards the Chiefs Manawa this year. So they're going to be ones to watch in this season, especially with Ruby Tui in that back line as well. But also 2 player movements from over in the UK as well, with Liz McGovern and Charlotte Woodman leaving Exeter and heading to Matatu as well. So that's going to be really interesting to see how they develop over in that competition. Obviously, Liv McGovern came from over in Matatu to the Exeter Chiefs last season, but she's taken Charlotte over there with her. And finally, to round off this episode, just looking at the Elite One Feminine over in France. In Pool 1, Stade Francais lost 64-5 at home to Stade Bordelais. So a massive result for Stade Bordelais there. ASM Romanat, which is Clement Auvergne, won 46-0 against Stade Villeneuve. What? And then finally in Pool 1, AC Bobigny lost 44-3 at home to Montpellier. Over in Pool 2, Blagnac won 32-6 at home to Grenoble. Lyon lost 32-20 at home to Toulouse. And finally, Stade Rennais won the game of the weekend against Pau 25-20. So that's it for this week's Women's Rugby Show Weekly. We'll be back next week where we have a deeper look into the first round of the HSB 7 series. Hopefully get a couple of interviews there. We'll be looking at round 3 of the PWR and also taking a look at the championship. We'll be looking to the championship South this weekend because I'm conscious that so much of our opening Championship roundups have been the Championship North, but we'll be looking at the Championship South next weekend. So thank you so much for listening or watching this episode. We really appreciate it, and make sure you like this video on YouTube and kind of give us a rating on your Spotify or any other podcast player as well. Cheers, and see you next week.